This is part 17 of the truth and history of the corruption within the United States. In my last video, I was discussing how every single president, that's right, every single president, makes a secret oath to keep you and me and all other fellow Americans enslaved to these private central banks. And I believe it's important to mention that every single one of them are a part of this secret society. And while the majority of them are Freemasons, many of them are actually in the Illuminati as well. And if they're not in the Illuminati, they're being used by the Illuminati to further their plans. A lot of this is going to fall into my occult series that's coming pretty soon, but it's very important to mention that. It's also very important to mention that majority of them are family. I believe there's only 2 presidents in history that are not related to these other presidents. And like I said, these private central bankers allow these rulers to rule the country on the sole policy and principle that they keep the American people enslaved to these private central banks. And by failing to do so, these rulers will be killed and their nation will be invaded by other nations which are enslaved to these private central banks. In American media, we constantly see different clashes of civilization, like that of the Muslims. Many Americans believe that Muslims are bad, but in all reality, this is one of the only groups of people that go against and forbid usury, which is the lending of money at interest. And that is primarily the reason why the American government insists that Muslims must be killed or converted. And it's all because they refuse to issue currency at interest. So off the American children must go to go spill their blood for the interest of these greedy bankers. And they use these different presidents and these political parties to divide the people further and have them believe that it's the president's fault. Now don't get me wrong, the presidents are not doing this stuff for free. Many of them come into office with very little money, but leave extremely wealthy. And the more dirt they do for these private central bankers, the wealthier they leave. And when Donald Trump came into office, he did the same thing by making that oath. But see, Donald Trump tricked these private central bankers. See, during his presidency, he made that oath, which is the reason why he was able to get into office. But instead of committing mass murder, he used social media. See, a lot of people think that he was using Twitter to just spam off tweets, but in all reality, he was manipulating the stock market and placing short and calls in different stocks. Now, this is still corrupt because people have money invested in these stock markets, and he's technically playing with a lot of people's money. But many believe during his presidential term, he was getting ready to come for these private central banks, which is why they rigged the 2020 election. And Elon Musk caught on to this stock market manipulation, which allowed him to use his Twitter as well to manipulate the stock market and the crypto market. And he dared something to happen to Elon because nothing happened to Donald Trump. And Joe Biden did the same. I'm running out of time, but like for part 18.